Awesome. Ecclesiarchy priest Zarkov drops to his knees and he presses his hands across his chest in the shape of the Aquila, and he says, good sir, tech priest, you bless us with your holy incense. Thank you for sanctifying this place. Now,
Callie, if I could borrow a minute of your time and speak to you. Sorry, I interrupted
you. Kalia steps aside with you, but momentarily Zarkov continues talking to the rest, and he says, the elevator will lead you up into the House Malayar agricultural district, which adjoins the Thalia industrial district, as well as a number of other districts. Kalia approaches you over to the side of the group, and she says, Jax, what is it I can do for you?
Listen, Callie, I understand you've got your directive, and frankly, it would be overkill to call you in for help at this point in time, but if there's any way I could add you to my Vox channel in case we do find that this route, this heresy runs to something that may be a little bit more towards your attention and your need, that would be fantastic. Do you think that's possible?
I move to interrupt this conversation, by the way.
All right.
Stating...
Engelbart cock blocking, trying to get numbers here.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just how it goes. I'm sorry.
What do you say?
Sister of battle, most holy of the Emperor's chosen. I believe that Jax has some kind of memory retention issue. It would be more prudent to provide your Vox channel to me, and I will store it inside our most holy cogitators.
Callie might be your friend. He means well, but he's awkward around everyone, actually. He's just kind of awkward.
Kalia says, the mysteries of the Omnissiah are not for the faint of mind, and it is surely only the most strong of will who can retain the holy mysteries. And so, Tech Priest, I would be delighted to imbue your cogitators with my Vox channel, that the two of you may call upon me if ever you receive word of information that should reach my ears.
I slowly start jiggling my utility mechadendrite in the direction of Jax in a taunting fashion.
I like this image. One last thing, Callie. I gotta admit, I've been eyeing the ever-living shit out of your gorgeous gun. Is there any way I could perhaps gain access to one for myself? I did have one, but it was tainted, and obviously the machine spirit within it was not something I wanted to walk around with. But if you had
I hiss loudly
the ability to help me pack a little bit more heat, if you know what I mean, that'd be great.
She looks at her feet at the floor, and then she looks back up at you and she says, Jax, I'm afraid the Godwin Diaz pattern bolt gun is restricted for only the Adeptus Sororitas. No man may bear this weapon, just as no man may serve in the army of the Ecclesiarchy.
I immediately thought of the scene from
Lord of the
Rings.
I am no man.
But it's like, that seems like an awful technicality, doesn't it?
Do any of you have Lore of the Imperium?
Yeah.
Can you roll that for me, Jax?
Common Lore of the Imperium.
Yeah.
Yep. So what would you like me to roll?
Just test against that. Let's see. I'm pulling up your sheet here so I can make sure I see. What? Why don't I? Oh, it must be. I must have stored it locally.
I just have a check mark by it, and I have it, so I don't know what I would roll for that.
It should have one of your stats listed right next to it. Maybe intelligence.
It's under advanced skills. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it says INT, so yeah.
And then if you have one check mark by it, then that means you use your full intelligence.
Yeah.
Characteristic.
Which is 44, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I nailed it, man.
Oh man. Yeah. So you remember that? That's actually how the Adeptus Sororitas got started. Is that the Ecclesiarchy were forbidden from ever having a force of fighting men. And as a result, they got around that through a technicality by ensuring that their entire militant wing would only ever be composed of women.
Which, someone would have probably drafted the agreement a little better than that. But
you would have thought, but the bureaucracy inherent in the system is, it's blessed by the Emperor.
Your gun is your gun. Surely, I did not mean that. I just mean a bolt or pistol or rifle of some sort. You surely know someone or have access, or perhaps you fell a foe that, or someone fell that doesn't use it anymore. That kind of thing.
She smiles and she says, Jax, all of my resources are from and for the Adeptus Sororitas. I'm very sorry I cannot aid you in your quest.
You can't fault a man for trying. And then I look at Bart.
Indeed, I cannot. And she turns back to the altar and kneels in prayer, and the other two women kneel next to her and begin muttering, Our Emperor, who art on the golden throne, hallowed be thy name, etc., etc.
Hang on, this sounds extra heretical. That's not canon.
Agreed.
So hang on really quick, Jax, a.k.a. Jeff, now. Go to the Settings tab in Roll20, and all of you can actually do this. The little gear at the very top right of the screen.
Okay.
And under your macros, you should have Skill Test Macro. Just check that and check the in-bar.
In-bar.
Got it.
Done.
And that'll drop it down on the lower left of your screen.
Okay.
You can click that. And then you can input the value of the skill you're testing against. For example, maybe for Jax, it's intelligence is 39. And then the next modifier is your roll modifiers. So for example, if I said you get a plus 20, you would put 20 in there. And then that will roll for you and automatically tell you how many degrees of success or failure you got. And the large number that looks bold is the result of your roll. So if you get a negative number as a result of that, then that means, bam, you failed the test. Too bad, so sad. If you get a positive number, that means that you got that many degrees of success. So this is just a super cheap, super quick way. And big thanks, by the way, to the community who's watching right now. A bunch of you actually mentioned this to me, and I managed to put it together in a macro that we can all use and just use that really quickly for finding out all sorts of information.
Neat.
Cool. So Ecclesiarchy Priest Zarkov motions you over to this. Like you see this little loop off to the side of the main antechamber here. He leads you to a door that's engraved with the Aquila and the fleur-de-lis of the Adeptus Sororitas. And he punches a code into a panel on the door. And then he turns a massive wheel on the side, and the door slowly hisses open. And he leads you down a spiral staircase, at the bottom of which there's like a single cot and a single candle and like a whole stack of scrolls, all right next to like an iron caged elevator. It looks like it must be like hundreds of years old. It's probably like crank driven or something like that. And he turns to you shakily and he says, My lords, here is the elevator with which I commune with the surface. You should use it to reach the world above and return to your duties.
I'd like to examine that elevator to see if it's structurally sound.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Like, roll a tech use and give yourself a plus 30 for the archaic technology that's extra simple.
Fair enough. I also get a plus 10 on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a success.
Beautiful. You examine it thoroughly, and you know what? You recognize that one of the cables is a little bit, well, not a little bit. It's heavily corroded and rusty. It looks like this contraption is appropriate for ferrying a single frail old gentleman up and down, but a group of individuals like yourself would pose a challenge to this particular mode of transportation.
I'm going to attempt to repair it using spare parts.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That should be doable, right?
There's like
That
a
shit,
ton of junk lying around right at the floor here. You've got your utility mechadendrite. You carry like a couple of random doodads with you at all times.
I carry
right?
I've got 7 packs of spare parts with me.
Yeah. So you can either attempt to repair it with the stuff that's lying around. I'll give you your straight plus 10 for your utility mechadendrite, or you can spend one of your spare parts to gain a plus 30.
I'll spend a spare part to make plus 30 on that.
Sounds good.
And that's tech use, right?
Yes.
Okay. 8 plus 10 plus 30 plus 50 is what I get in total for that. Yeah, 7.4 degrees of success.
All right. So, you fire up your plasma cutter, snap the cord, pull out like a vise and winch it back together and clamp it closed.
Oh, it looks like I accidentally also created a las cannon. I don't know how that happened.
You just had a couple spare parts left over afterwards.
Yeah, just knock it together. No problem.
Yeah. So, you manage to repair it. It takes you about 5 minutes, and the others of you are just sort of standing around in this.
Actually, can I look through these scrolls and just see if there's anything that might be worthwhile?
Oh, you approach the scrolls and start looking at them. They're all like ancient vellum scrolls illuminated with beautiful manuscript writings all over them. But as soon as you approach, Zarkov comes over and he says, "Oh, my lady, can I help you?"
Which one of these is the best?
He sort of blanches and he says, "Oh, my lady, to relegate one of the great works stored here above the others would surely be heresy. I could not claim to love any of my children more than another.
I wish to read any scrolls you have about the warp."
Ooh.
He sort of just like rests silent for a moment, and he looks around at everybody else. He sort of dashes up the stairs really quick, like way quicker than you'd think this like ancient decrepit old man could possibly move. And then you hear him sort of crash around up there, and then he comes crashing back down the stairs, and he says, "My lady, why do you want to know such terrible things?"
I don't know that I can even tell you. I seek knowledge about the warp. I seek better understanding.
He looks at you and he says, "I do not know that I can condone the interest of a normal citizen in the warp, my lady. I am afraid I must decline to acquiesce."
Do you think that if I was a normal citizen, I would be asking you about information and documents pertaining to the warp?
His face sort of goes dark and he says, "Well, there are a number of recidivists and rebels in the Underhives. Where are you from? What is your quest?"
I take the Grail.
You're a good old man.
I'm currently involved in an investigation, but ongoing, my quest is simply to serve the Emperor, and in doing so, I have myself succumbed to the warp several times, both by choice and not by choice.
Tell him that. He's a member of the ecclesiarchy. What are you doing?
He pales and he like immediately starts running back upstairs. What do you do?
Well, I mean, based off of Kappa's reaction, maybe we just need to get in the damn elevator and go.
He runs past you and runs upstairs. What are y'all doing? Are all of you downstairs in his little...
I think my mouth drops open.
In his little rat hole?
I just turned to Jax. I'm like, "Jax, I mean, you want me to be more hard, right?"
I'm not sure this
my
applies,
God.
little darling. I think
you hear this...
what's to come might make you harder. We'll see.
You hear this raspy voice from upstairs. The warp. And then
elevator.
You hear like three women, murmuring in low tones. Engelbart, like you're 3/4 of the way through your repair as all of this is happening. Do you want to try and speed this up?
Considering what just happened, that might be a fucking good idea. So yeah,
right. If you can make a -10 tech use skill test, then I'll let you finish it like right now.
Okay, right. Well, I'll do that, but I will also, of course, be adding +10 to my tech use and +10 for my utility mechadendrite, so that in total means I get +10 to the skill.
Indeed.
Even after your minus. Which, unfortunately, I think we may fate point that. That seems like... Yeah, let's do that again. There we go.
Okay. So, yeah, you're cutting with your mechadendrite and you're like clasping this vise into place, and the cable snaps, and immediately your mechadendrite, almost like without you even thinking about it, almost of its own will, like it just reaches up and grabs the cable as it flies upwards into the darkness ahead, and you're like pulled off the ground a little bit, but your hands are holding onto the bottom of the cable, and you like pull these two ends close and snap it together, and then you hear the sound of power armored boots ringing on the stairs.
Oh, God.
And Matron Phaedrus, who's standing right next to you, Fricks, she looks at you and she says, "Speaking of the warp around the Ecclesiarchy and the Adeptus Sororitas is never a good idea, Madam Phaedrus. Shall we leave?" And she steps into the elevator, and Arlthalia, like, he sort of puts his arm around you, Fricks, and he says, There. I know you didn't mean anything. Now come along. Let's get you some nice tacos when we get up to the surface.
Sure.
Okay. Are you guys all getting into this elevator?
Yeah, as fast as possible.
You close the door and begin cranking the little hand crank inside of the elevator. The whole thing begins rising. You see the three sisters turn the last bend, and
I lean down. There's a reasonable explanation. Call me.
I let off a departing scent of incense.
All three of them run into the cloud of incense and sort of double over, coughing momentarily. And as the last gap closes, as the elevator, like the floor of the elevator leaves the ceiling of the door, you see Kalia Rexus looking up at you with a perplexed look on her face.
Call me.
So the elevator ascends fairly slowly. It's entirely hand-driven by this crank that Arlthalia has decided he is the one who's going to crank this thing. He's going to get you back to the surface. And he's just going really slowly. He's like this fairly old, pudgy guy, sort of wheezing as he rotates this crank over and over. And Engelbart, you hear on your Vox communicator an incoming transmission.
Can I answer it without everyone else hearing?
Yes.
Okay, do that.
Yeah, you answer it. It's Kalia, and she says,
"Oh, that's a surprise."
She says, Engelbart Kappa, your reaction to our attempts to ascertain your true purpose was disturbing. Would you care to explain yourself?
There would appear to be a malfunction with our psyche unit. It has gone through numerous stressful times as of late, and requires, let's just say, a little more polish in order to operate correctly. I'm sure you can understand that Psyche's only recently thrown bond to the God Emperor can be a little unpredictable.
There's a silence on the other end of the line. And then you hear her respond. You mean to imply that Fricks is a psyker in the service of the God Emperor, and not only in his service, but wed to him?
Yes, I believe the throne wed procedure was carried out to code and up to specification. However, it did not necessarily include the requisite social skills to allow for the psyker to operate within polite company. I'm sure you can understand.
There's another moment's silence, and then Kalia comes on over the comm once more, and she says, Please convey my comprehension to the rest of your team. Blessed be the Omnissiah. Please ensure that your psyker unit is functioning correctly and not merely lacking a piece of polish. It becomes concerning when a psyker begins investigating too deeply into the warp. Take care of yourself, Tech Priest.
Thank you, holy representative of the Sororitas. We will attempt a thorough diagnostic on the Psyche unit using as many invasive procedures as humanly possible later on. Blessed be the Omnisire. Praise to the Emperor and toll once the great bell of Mars.
She hung up, man.
Okay. So I look slightly disappointed and dejected. My mechadendrite sort of flops a little bit. It's like right there.
Yeah.
You could say it's flaccid.
Yes. As you are ascending ever so slowly, Carna Phaedrus in the corner, she sort of turns to the side and mutters, "What?" and presses her hand to her ear where she has her Vox communicator. She stands there for a moment. Are you guys hearing my cuckoo clock in the back?
We heard that. I'm just like,
Hang on
what
a
the
minute.
fuck's going on?
It's the Vox
ringtone is
communicator.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
Who can it be?
I was like, Steven can't. not that
Minor
good.
malfunction in the communicator, picking
Would you
up
like me to apply the sacred
interference.
oil, Steve?
Yeah.
What if we all answered no, Steve, and it was just you hearing cuckoo?
That's true. That would've
Who
been the
knows,
best
man?
troll
I would
You
be a
guys
little
can
worried
hear that,
about
right? What?
No? What?
She turns back to the group, and she fixes you, Jax, with a look straight in the eye, and she says, "Adeptus Arbitrace, we require your service.
Speak, friend. I'm here for you.
There has been a foul crime committed. The suspect must be apprehended at once."
What happened?
She looks at you, she steps towards you, and she says, "Jax Romulus, yesterday at approximately 1400 hours, Engelbart Kappa did willfully and intentionally murder Mortician Victus, my Mortician. I charge you under the holy orders of the Adeptus Arbitrace to bring him under arrest and render him for the Emperor's judgment."
Well, shit.
Did you catch that, Jeff?
No, was it just me that dumped out of the call?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, how convenient. Excellent.
Well, for the purpose of this, I'll just be like, yes, we'll do it.
Oh no, now we.
Oh, don't
Good.
do that.
So how do you
No,
go
maybe
about
not. I need to hear who it is.
apprehending Engelbart Kappa?
Sorry.
Yes, she said that yesterday at approximately 1400 hours, Engelbart Kappa did willfully and intentionally murder Mortician Victus, her house Mortician, and she is entreating you to bring him under arrest and bring him to the Emperor's holy justice.
Madam Phaedrus, Engelbart is an agent of an Inquisitor, which of course has jurisdiction and right to execute if necessary. So I will have to question him personally and find out what happened. But we are in an investigation of things far deeper, including your daughter being abducted, which could have been an inside job, and that would mean that this could be attached to that. So I will get to the bottom of this and find out for you, and I will report back to you. But I need to remind you that we are here at a much larger charge than lives and deaths of morticians.
She looks at you and she says, "Jax, the local arbitrace has already been informed of this crime. If you do not take him into custody in my prison cells, then they will take him into custody in theirs."
Well, Madam Phaedrus, I would ask that you possibly look into calling them off or helping us in this case, because as I said, we're here to try and find heretics that are rooted in something that seems to be opposed to your family. They already made an attempt against your daughter's life, to which I'll remind you, Engelbart played a key role in salvation for her. We brought her back for you. If that all goes
During
away
all of
because
this,
of a
incidentally, my
mortician,
utility
then
mechadendrite is hidden behind my back with the plasma torch ignited. But
Ooh.
please continue.
Does that make it like a huge, loud burning noise? Like,
Yes, and I'm looking as innocent as
plays
possible throughout
dubstep
the
to
entire
cover it
thing.
up, though.
It is loud on the elevator.
Yeah, the elevator is really, really loud. It
the
sounds
elevator is loud.
Defense. But I
Uh,
noticed this and kind of stepped to the side a little bit.
Arl he keeps winching the crank, and finally you lurch to a halt, and the doors begin to slide open slowly. Arl steps over towards Eli, and he says, "I don't know that this is going to be resolved amicably, do you?"
I just look down at him and don't like. Out of the corner of my eye, I'm just like staring at him, and I don't say a thing to him. I just stare at him.
Now, Madam
Yeah.
Phaedrus, your house is key in our investigation, and as I said, House Ophelia Ophilie seems to be in a position to try and cause you severe harm. We are your greatest asset in seeing that does not happen. Has that changed just now?
Yeah, like her upper lip sort of quivers a little bit. And she looks at you and tears well in her eye, and she says, Mortician Victus has been in my family for 3 generations. He served my father and his mother before him. And now this man has, and we have video feed proof of this, has murdered him in cold blood in his own chamber. And you are telling me that, as you are an arbitrace, it is not your duty to bring him to justice? Well, sir, if that is truly the way that you feel, then perhaps my house guards can see to my safety better than you and your crew can.
They've already
Don't worry,
told you.
I interject into this conversation and pull something from my pocket. It appears to be a small bag of ashes. I hand it to the lady and say, it's okay, don't worry, I saved the important bits.
Ugh.
I kind of Eli laughs in the background.
Jax?
In many ways, he's more machine than human. But as I said to you, we're going to find out what happened. I have to believe that what happened is linked to the heresy and the greater deeds that are going on between your 2 houses. If you want us to shift our attention to making sure Engelbart doesn't go down for a crime during an investigation for a greater cause, we will. As I said, we work for an Inquisitor. This is not going to be a problem. But we will not work with your house anymore, and if your daughter gets killed or abducted, that won't be my concern. I was an Arbitage. Now I work for the Inquisitor, and my greatest concern is finding and rooting out heresy.
She's
Still
sort of
wiggling the bag, by the way.
I'd like to work with you, and I'd like to give you answers as to why your mortician that's been working with your family for years died, but the greater concern here is finding out the evil that is around your 2 houses.
She sort of looks at you sidelong. She says, your words are not gentle, good Romulus. But you speak...
I apologize. I was born and raised on a
Ooh, actually, hang
terrible
on.
planet.
Jax, can you roll a logic test for me, which is your intelligence half?
Yeah.
No, this will go well.
Intelligence